Ah, come on. I'm the one using the car. You? How about you walk home, huh? Starting the new year being bossed around and now being told to walk home alone. The heartless man standing in front of me, embarrassingly, is my husband, and chuckling behind him, that's his mom and sister. You know the saying, like father, like son? Fits them perfectly. My name is Eleanor and I'm 40 years old. I work part-time in an office. I live with my husband and daughter Claire, who's in 8th grade. Raising a child goes by in a flash. It feels like just yesterday Claire was a little girl. She's going through a rebellious phase now, but she's a sweet girl who helps around the house when I'm not well. I met my husband Daniel at work. It was a typical office romance. Daniel's not exactly a whiz at his job, but he's calming to be around. Wrapped in his big arms, winters used to feel cozy, but over the years, he's become just plain stifling. The reason being, "Oh, for heaven's sake, how long have you been doing housework for us?" She hit me with the spatula she was holding. Hey, it makes me feel like I'm not joking around. I clenched my teeth and held back. Because the one attacking me is Daniel's mom, my mother-in-law. We've been at odds since we got married. In her traditional family, family gatherings happen frequently for holidays and ceremonies. Each time, mother-in-law would scold me. "You're the wife of the eldest son. Act like it." My problem isn't just my outdated mother-in-law. Hey, Eleanor. There's also my sister-in-law, who snacks on the fried chicken I prepared for everyone. Are you kidding me? I had a kilo of chicken. She a monster or what? I think it, but don't say it. My phone chirps with a notification. I glanced at it and couldn't stop laughing. What are you laughing at? Gross. Mom! Whenever I do something she doesn't like, she calls over my mother-in-law, and I get scolded. That's how it's been at my in-laws' place. When I talk to friends, they say divorce is the only option. Of course, I've thought about it too. But Daniel, as unreliable as he is Claire's only father. I just have to endure a few family gatherings a year. Besides, it's not like I don't have any allies at these family events. My phone never stops buzzing during family events. Hey, your phone keeps making noise. While stuffing his face, Daniel said this. By the way, he's on his 3rd serving of rice. Oh, maybe it's notifications from Claire's class moms on social media. Huh? Mom friends, huh? That must be tough. That was a lie. There is a moms group, but this is something else. After finishing my chores, I sat down on the sofa to read the accumulating messages. Hey everyone, thanks for making it through another day. God, it was so cold today, wasn't it? Tell me about it. Our place must be the only one that's cold both in summer and winter. Speaking of which, Eleanor was such a pain to deal with today again, huh? Reading through the group chat, I couldn't help but chuckle to myself. This chat group includes me and Daniel's cousins' wives. While my issues with my mother-in-law might be on the higher end, it turns out the other wives have their share of grievances too. We instantly clicked and became close. Initially, we vented over the phone, but ever since we all got smartphones and joined social media, we've taken to griping here. By the way, while chatting with my sister-in-law, I received a notification. Eleanor, heads up! Your sister-in-law's zipper is down, lol. I couldn't contain my laughter. And yes, sister-in-law's zipper was wide open. I might have not been able to endure this on my own, but with these allies, it's probably one reason I haven't divorced yet. When I'm getting passive-aggressive comments from my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, Daniel just turns a blind eye. I once came home and tearfully said, "Why didn't you stand up for me? I've been dealing with their snide comments all day." Daniel responded, "You're overreacting. It's not a big deal, really. Be stronger. What's for dinner?" He said it with such a dismissive look. The thought of divorce flashed through my mind, but our young daughter Claire adores Daniel. "Daddy's belly is so soft and comfy," she'd say. I used to be like that too. I used to feel the same way about Daniel's big belly. I loved how he ate with such joy. But now it just annoys me. I asked many times, "Why don't you lose weight?" He always says, "Claire likes my belly, and besides, obesity runs in my family." That's a lie. I've seen his relatives. Only Daniel, his mom, and sister are obese. They're not just overweight, they're enormous, making rooms instantly feel smaller. Because of their massive size, the house is always freezing. In summer, the air conditioner is set to a chilly 64.4 degrees Fahrenheit, feeling like we're in a freezer. In winter, as soon as sister-in-law complains, "It's too hot," the heater gets turned off, and we all freeze. We all wear long sleeves, even in the summer. But still, it's cold. Despite the cold, all three of them sweat profusely. Finally, a cold-sensitive relative shouted, "Hey, what's the deal with this house? Why is it so cold? If you're going to complain, please leave." Mother-in-law responded, causing the room to empty out, one by one. What era are they living in? Talking about main and branch families? Of course, father-in-law would scold mother-in-law, but she would snap back. "You're hardly ever home. Don't act like you're important." Sister-in-law joins in, and they both berate father-in-law, who ends up just letting it slide. I wish father-in-law would take a firmer stand, but the thought of being shoved aside by those large bodies sends shivers down my spine. My sister-in-law is over 40, single, and unemployed. Once upon a time, my sister-in-law had a job, but she quit after finding out she was bullying a new employee who turned out to be the daughter of a major client. Now she lives with her parents and doesn't work at all. She and her mom, my mother-in-law, live off her dad's money. When I married into the family, sister-in-law had already been unemployed for many years. She does want to get married and often goes to matchmaking events, but as far as I know, she's never had a boyfriend. She says, "I come from a good family, so my future husband needs to earn at least $80,000 a year." She used to say $100,000, so maybe she's lowering her standards. But let's be real, she needs a reality check. We should look more realistic. Sister-in-law claims she's from a good family because her dad, my father-in-law, owns a business. But the business was actually started by his dad, and it's been struggling under father-in-law's management. It seems that grandfather-in-law had a knack for business, but that talent didn't pass down to father-in-law. Ever since father-in-law took over, the company's performance has been on a steady decline. I know all this because I work at the same company. That's where I met Daniel, my husband, who also works there in a decent position. Many of Daniel's cousins work there too. My parents also own a small business. It's just them and a few relatives, but they're doing okay. They had me late in life and have always treated me like a treasure. Now they adore our daughter Claire, who prefers my parents over my in-laws. Mother-in-law doesn't seem to like that. "Is Claire spending New Year's at your parents' again?" Mother-in-law asks. "Yeah," I reply. Daniel sighs and says, "Oh, don't you think that's weird? Normally people spend New Year's with their paternal family." Then he says something unforgivable. "Well, your parents are old. They don't have much time left." I said such a terrible thing. It's true, my parents are nearing 80, much older than Daniel's. Daniel's parents, who married young, are quite a bit older than him, but they're still spry and sharp as tacks. When I once asked them, "Isn't it time to enjoy your golden years?" "We just want to buy things Claire loves. Seeing you and Claire happy is our joy." Every time I visit home, Mom always gives me some money. Daniel laughed and belittled my precious parents. "What did you just say? Don't you know the difference between what's okay to say and what's not?" When I angrily retorted, Daniel said, Fine, fine. I'm the bad guy, as always. If you're going to be like that, we might as well divorce." Then he stormed out of the house. The nerve of him. He better be prepared. The following year, on New Year's Day, my parents came to pick up Claire. "Take care! See you later!" I said to them. Claire seemed happy to see my parents and said, "I'll let you know how it goes," before leaving. It was refreshing to see Claire smile after a long time of her looking downcast. Even though my parents had come over, Daniel didn't even bother to greet them. What a rude guy. I felt utterly disrespected. After a while, Daniel came out of his room, and we headed to his parents' house. We haven't spoken since that incident. I don't understand why Daniel is mad, but I'm glad we're not talking. Lately, the only thing I've heard from him is, "Seconds, please." When I ignored him, he clicked his tongue and slammed the rice cooker shut. "Stop taking it out on objects," Claire chimed in. "Yes, stop it." Only to be yelled at by Daniel. The atmosphere at home was terrible. As soon as we arrived at his parents' house, his mom, mother-in-law, said, "Oh, Claire is with the other family again this year? What kind of upbringing is that?" Daniel quickly threw me under the bus. It's Eleanor's poor parenting. Sorry, Mom. You can tell a lot about a person by their upbringing. Hurry up! We're busy with cleaning and preparing meals. This house felt as cold as ever. Upon entering the living room, I greeted the relatives gathered for the new year. Sister-in-law was there, and as expected, she ignored me. Despite the cold, seeing sister-in-law in a short-sleeved shirt and shorts gave me chills. When Daniel sat down, one of the daughters-in-law said, "Here you go," and carelessly served him tea. Everyone was on my side because Daniel had been discussing all his actions in a group chat. Father-in-law was out, so he wasn't there. Seriously? We're all gathered here because Charles said he has something to discuss. Mother-in-law was getting impatient. While shivering and eating, a 5-year-old cousin said, "It's cold in here." She turned on the heater. The next moment, sister-in-law yelled, "Don't touch things in other people's homes, you brat!" She snatched the remote from the child and turned off the heater. Naturally, the child was shocked and started crying. "If you're going to cry, why don't you go home?" A grown adult, over 40, said this to a 5-year-old. The relatives were furious. "Apologize to my daughter, you worthless woman! We've been putting up with this for the sake of the family, but this is the last straw. We're never coming back. You and your family can go to hell!" Sister-in-law, who hadn't expected such a backlash, started crying despite her age. Honestly, everyone was disgusted. "Hey, why is everyone blaming my daughter? Don't you feel ashamed? If anyone has a problem, leave!" This time, mother-in-law started yelling, "This family is insane. We're cutting ties with you." One by one, the relatives said this and left. The only ones remaining were Daniel, mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and me. The room felt even colder, with fewer people. As I was shivering from the cold, mother-in-law said, "What are you standing around for? The cleaning and meals are done, so you should leave too." "Excuse me?" "I said, we're spending time as a family, so you should go." Annoyed, mother-in-law told me to leave, so I was happy to oblige. The moment I picked up my car keys, Daniel said, No, I'm using the car. You can walk home." Daniel was unbelievable. He must be trying to annoy me because he doesn't like my recent behavior. They were all watching me, expecting me to cry, with smug smiles on their faces. "Why don't you guys walk for a change?" But with those bodies, that might be impossible. I won't be coming back here either. Goodbye." "What?" I said it with a big smile. Daniel and the others were speechless, their faces turning red. They were always timid around people other than family. I should have done this sooner. I felt lighter, as if I'd grown wings, and even breathing felt easier. As I was about to leave, father-in-law returned with someone. "Oh, Eleanor, where are you going? It's unusually quiet here," father-in-law said, and the person with him greeted me. "Eleanor, long time no see." Saying that, he called out to me refreshingly. It was William, my former brother-in-law, who had recently become the company president. I am not married. He was single and had been working overseas. He looked handsome, much like father-in-law. It had been years since we last met. "William, it's been a while. Mother-in-law told everyone to leave, so they did. She also told me to walk home, so I'm about to do that." I said it matter-of-factly. Upon hearing this, both men looked at Daniel and the others with disgust. "Is this true?" father-in-law asked in a low voice. Mother-in-law tried to defend herself. "Well, everyone was blaming her. Don't you find your daughter cute?" "Cute? This freeloader? She's just getting fatter. Are you all planning to become sumo wrestlers?" I'd never seen father-in-law so angry in the many years I'd been married into this family. I wished he'd scolded these hopeless people sooner. I even felt resentful toward him. Well, it doesn't matter to me anymore. I'm leaving now, and just so you know, I'm divorcing you. Do whatever you want. I glared at Daniel as I said this. He glared back, clearly unhappy. "Eleanor, I'll drive you. Get in the car." Father-in-law offered, but I declined. "I'm fine. My ride is already here." I opened the front door to find my parents, and Claire, waiting to pick me up. I had decided today to tell Daniel about the divorce, and I had already talked to Claire about it. When I told Claire we were getting a divorce, she hugged me, tears in her eyes, and said, "Really? Living with Dad has been so hard?" She hugged me while shedding tears. Seeing Claire, Daniel desperately said, "Claire, you'll live with Dad, right? You love Dad." Claire started crying and said, "No way! After Dad takes a bath, there's hardly any hot water left, and he eats like a pig. Plus, Grandma said—" After saying that, Claire burst into tears. Claire had told me various things when I informed her about the divorce. "Grandma called me a failure." I couldn't believe it. That's not something a grandmother should say to her granddaughter. Mother-in-law looked guilty. And then this! Claire then showed me a photo of mother-in-law and sister-in-law shopping, their cart filled with meat and snacks. Some local overweight mom and kid are always blocking the aisles and being rude to the staff. So annoying! Those words were posted on social media by someone with no consideration. Claire's school caught wind of it. Thankfully, no one knew it was about her grandma and aunts, but the fear of being found out made every day stressful for her. Seeing Claire cry, Daniel finally seemed to grasp the gravity of the situation and fell silent. It was too late for realizations now. "We're handing over the family business and moving to the countryside. We've always loved gardening, and we're looking forward to enjoying our retirement. Eleanor and Claire are coming with us, so it should be a happy time for all of us." When Dad shared this with the in-laws, "Moving?" Daniel's eyes widened in surprise. Of course he was surprised. No one had told him anything. When we told our parents we were divorcing, Dad shared this plan with us. They had been thinking of moving back to the countryside, where Mom grew up. They had already found a new home, and once they confirmed we were heading to the in-laws, they started moving our stuff. "I'm truly sorry." My father-in-law apologized. "Considering how Eleanor and Claire feel, we have no intention of forgiving you. Excuse us," Dad said, his eyes cold, and led us to the car. Later, I contacted my father-in-law to resign from my job. I had already discussed the divorce with a close colleague, so the transition was smooth. My father-in-law kept apologizing over the phone, but I cut him off, saying, "It's fine." I left the social media group with the other daughters-in-law as is. When I announced the finalized divorce, they all congratulated me and thanked me for my hard work over the years. Since the incident at the in-laws during New Year's, some had even improved their relationships with their mothers-in-law. I heard that little girl still occasionally cries, remembering what happened, but she's back to her old self and attending preschool. I'm truly relieved. As for my former in-laws, my father-in-law stepped down as the company president. The new president is my former brother-in-law, William. They gathered the family to announce this during New Year's. They had gathered the family during New Year's to announce this. Daniel protested, "I'm the eldest son, you know!" But Daniel had been taking liberties at work, leaving early and coming in late, all because he was the boss's son. It was exhausting to keep covering for him. His lackadaisical attitude towards work meant his department's performance was poor. Frustrated both at home and work, my former father-in-law consulted with my former brother-in-law. Turns out he has some business acumen. The company's performance has been gradually improving. "Wait a minute! I never agreed to work!" "Please, use formal language at work, Zoe. I won't go easy on you just because we're family." My former mother-in-law and sister-in-law were told to earn their own living and started working at the company. Daniel was transferred, and all three were assigned to sales. Daniel, who had been so sure he'd be the next president, was demoted to a regular employee. For someone as prideful as him, this must be the ultimate humiliation. Honestly, it serves him right. It seems that he walks a lot every day and works desperately. According to a former relative who happened to see them, all three of them seem to have lost weight. Seems like it's been a good diet for them, much better than staying cooped up at home. My former mother-in-law and sister-in-law, who used to be so close, are now constantly fighting, probably due to stress from work. I'll never forgive my former in-laws, but they've caused trouble for so many people. They should spend the rest of their lives making amends. As for us, we've moved to the countryside and are living peacefully. Claire, who was initially anxious about going to school, now says, "Mom, can I bring a friend home next time?" With a smile. I recovered to the point where I could say that with a smile. I was fortunate to find a full-time job quickly. Though we're managing. My parents, who live with us, have rented a small plot of land and are busy growing various vegetables. The cucumbers we harvested this summer were delicious. I failed as a mother for not noticing Claire's pain. I intend to keep the lines of communication open with my family, holding the feeling of making amends to Claire in my heart. I plan to say what needs to be said, and even have plenty of arguments. As a mother, I'm committed to cherishing my family from now on.